We've been investors on a sustained basis in gold, particularly gold. First, we told the people, don't rush so fast into silver. Silver will go up later and harder, but the gold-silver ratio is still a tiny bit high. We need it to technically break down so that it's now, we need the mania, but we still stack it as an investment. We're just talking in terms of trading. So we are stacking at an investment and trading. And right now the trade on gold, I'm sitting here and, I'm 6-digit sums up in days.
The real opportunity lies in understanding how insiders operate. Technical trader FrancisHunt states that gold delivered as predicted, and now silver is about to explode. This is about a financial system designed to leave ordinary people behind. Your money is your responsibility, and it's time to learn the game. The combination of monetary and industrial demand creates a uniquely bullish case for silver, with some analysts projecting potential prices of $100 per ounce in the coming years, a level that would still be below the inflation-adjusted 1980 high of nearly $200 in today's dollars. While gold captures headlines, silver has experienced an even more dramatic percentage increase, reaching 14-year highs above $42 per ounce. This represents a powerful confirmation of the precious metals bull market, as silver typically amplifies gold's movements in strong trend environments. When the U.S. left the gold standard in 1971, it was like a wealthy person putting a vacation on a credit card. But over decades of declining production and rising debt, the system has reached the point of no return. According to FrancisHunt, we're now at a point of debt saturation, and the coming reset will hit everyone. Confidence in that power has been steadily eroded due to a series of financial crises, including those in 2008, March 2020, and the bank failures of March 2023, with indications that a tipping point is approaching. The U.S. is now the most indebted country in history. Government debt is $37 trillion and rising, and the interest bill on it at $1 trillion a year is becoming the largest expenditure item in the U.S. budget. As they seek to diversify their reserve assets, central banks have been a key pillar of global demand, purchasing gold at an eye-watering pace in 2024, exceeding 1,000 tons for the third year in a row, according to the World Gold Council. Before we dive into FrancisHunt's sharp insights from his latest interview, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tap the bell icon so you never miss a moment when truth meets the market. Let's get into it.
One of the key things is are you listening to the right people? Listen to this guy's message. Look at him. He's in his black glasses and white shirts, and he's telling you all these doomer things. Actually, there's lots of opportunity in these environments, by the way. That's the downside. It's just the 95% that don't understand are going to get culled. The 5% that do, of which 4% will be insiders, you can be that 1% that understands the insider's game and recognize where things go and use the tools that they use to protect themselves and build wealth. Debt is a crash. So we told everybody debt will go down. What's happened? Debt's gone down. Long end, we told you a TLT, a long end, it continues to go down of long end debt. We told you gold will go up. We've been investors on a sustained basis in gold, particularly gold. First, we told the people don't rush so fast into silver. Silver will go up later and harder, but the gold-silver ratio is still a tiny bit high. We need it to technically break down so that it's now, we need the mania, but we still stack it as an investment. We're just talking in terms of trading. So we are stacking at an investment and trading. And right now the trade on gold, I'm sitting here and, I'm 6-digit sums up in days. And it's easy money, but that's somebody, a nurse doesn't earn that in 5 years, but who's trading long gold for her? Nobody. And she gets crushed. And it's a sad fact, because she's doing something very vocational, very kind. She's just not money educated, or she doesn't have anyone who is in her life. And that's an terrible consequence, because good people that do good things that you need in society, paramedics, nurses, veterinarians, maybe, unfortunately, the big lesson and the learning for everybody in this world is your money, your problem. Find out how the game goddamn works and choose your advisor right. and listen and learn so that you can also tell BS. For example, if you use the example, look at 1971 and they went off gold and everyone said the world would end and they ended up doing that. Well, what they did is they did a free float and everyone trusted that the dollar's good for it by having the largest military and the largest economy after the World War II post era. And actually America was making a lot of stuff at that time. They still had a large amount of production as well. What subsequently happened is, and that they had a low debt. So it's fine for you to say, I'll dip into my credit card. If you and I are very frugal guys and we make $250,000 a year and we spend 100,000 on our homes and lifestyle, and then I say to you, let's go on holiday and I'll put some of it on my credit card. It isn't malfeasance or corruptible to my long-term sustainability as long as I'm earning that amount and all of that. I can go spend 20 grand on a holiday for 2 weeks. We can go scuba diving and all of that. I'll probably have the means to deal with that. It's when my income slowly starts to go down and goes from 250 to 200 to 150, and my living costs goes from 150 to 175 to 200. And then eventually you get to a situation where actually I'm juggling credit cards because my income is now 150 and my living expenses are 225. And I'm rolling a personal loan at the end of each year and dumping it with a new bank. And I'm building debt. Eventually, the shoe drops. What you can see is there's a clear progression. If it was a perfect cycle and we just came back to America and America was still one of the biggest producers, still hadn't built up any, was back where it was just after World War II, we could continue to repeat the decades of 1945 to 1970 many times over, and build up the credit card to that point and come back round. We're not captured in a vortex. We've actually moved forward, and small decisions that were made here that seemed small have micro compounded over multi-decades into big decisions that have created massive problems. So eventually you get to the point where you've taken too much of the drugs and your body can't take it anymore. You put too much of the debt and the bankruptcy courts are looking at you funny and thinking you can't pay your utility bills and your rent, and they should move in and seize what you have before you have a quiet little second-hand for cash sale and sell off all your assets and then walk in with your mum holding something over for you after the debt phoenix event you're going to go through. So that's kind of where we are now. You've burnt all you've painted the floor and you've moved to one corner in the room. You've now painted the whole room in red blood. And there's only one corner left, and you're still painting ever closer to your feet now. There is a finite amount of room to move in all things when it comes to debt. In the same way as there's a finite amount of cake that you and I could eat, and lines of cocaine that a drug addict can snort or crackhead can snort before eventually they either overdose or they've done terminal damage to their body. And we're at that point in a financial sense. And the markets are showing that. And gold is showing that. And that's why we're now on a short fuse to collapse. And it is that bad, and it will affect absolutely everyone, including you. If you say, well, I don't have much, and let it all burn down, I might get a better go at the new system. Let me tell you, you've got way more to lose. Your parents will lose stuff. Your inheritance will go down. Even if you own nothing, your claim to any property you have, your parents' claim to property might come under challenge. You might find that you're all on the street like homeless people. And then there's riot type vibes. And then you queue up and get your shot and get your UBI allocation. And you shut up when you're spoken to, and you don't do any hate speech. And you are being monitored, watched, and listened, and these are the rules. And then you're now in the technological oligarchical gulag that they've been planning. And in truth, I don't think too long for survival, because these are nice people. They are, in terms of how they view the rest of the world, they are nice people.
The Federal Reserve's influence on financial markets appears to be diminishing compared to previous decades. Market analysts are increasingly questioning whether the Fed maintains the same level of market control it once had. The futures market currently prices in 3/4-point rate cuts by year-end, reflecting expectations that the Fed will attempt to stimulate a slowing economy. You need to understand a hidden truth about the financial system. It's not just unstable, but a system of hidden risks and systemic fraud built on debt. FrancisHunt warns that your bank deposits aren't truly yours. They're subject to counterparty risk, leaving you vulnerable to a great taking of assets. Governments and banks view you as collateral, with elites like BlackRock and Vanguard poised to acquire assets at a discounted rate in the next economic downturn. Investors regard gold as protective against bad economic times, according to research by the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago. As a safe haven investment, gold tends to perform well in low-interest rate environments and during periods of political and financial uncertainty. Concurrently, Francis is urging people to convert paper promises into physical holdings. The push for digital finance isn't about convenience. It's about stripping you of direct ownership and locking you into a corporate-controlled, rent-based model. Let's get back to the interview.
First of all, from a financial point, you need to be able to stay in all forms of financial systems and to be accumulating wealth in an environment where there is huge debt debasement. There's a deep risk of bank balances being lost, counterparty risks on shares, which you don't really own because you don't have the certificates, a la the great taking and other people's good work in that space, of which Mr. Webb is one, and all sorts of system failure where they go, well, hey, we never had it. Well, we were doing this, well, we're doing that. There's going to be a lot of angry people. So I think they want you de-armed and as least dangerous as possible. If we were really a warrior tribe, we would have been putting leaders' heads and bankers' heads on stakes long time ago for crimes that should have happened in 2008 when they were bailed out and they socialized the cost onto the people. But we just kept eating it because too few people understood what was going on, and too few of those people that understood had the courage to do anything apart from create NSA, CIA, Skunk Works, Bitcoin, and tell you, we're really angry at the banking cartel. Here's your freedom. It's totally decentralized, which is a fairy tale. That is a front-running psyop that gets ahead of any narrative of anybody who was thinking that the banking cartel seems pretty evil bunch and got bailed out at the expense of the masses. Eventually, even what they do, you can't hide because it has repercussions on a grand scale. But you should know that you're not in a system that is equitable or fair. So every time you hear the word racism or all the isms that were created and equity and build back better, you should know this is just word salads for placating the masses whilst they continue within an agenda which is totalitarian, greatly reduce the population and do everything. So you need to get safe, you need to get secure, you need to get out of the West, you need to maintain your finances, for which gold and silver will play a massive role. And at the same time, you need self-reliance because government-based services will probably get reduced immensely because of the inability to borrow. That's why we say our most significant call is the end of the 40-year bull market in debt, which was late 2020. And it was 4 years before it was largely accepted by the best minds. And most YouTube commentators at the moment have no comprehension of what that means. Anybody says, don't worry, after the next crisis, they'll just print again. Or anybody who says, yeah, but they'll just borrow it into existence, or they'll buy it, or they'll monetize it themselves. No, they don't understand the debt system. There is a banking cartel that was afforded the exorbitant privilege of borrowing your money into existence, and they are extracting an interest payment, which is getting ever higher on the long end. To buy or do anything in government where your government is spending more than they get in, and all of them are doing it, ergo my point, synchronized leper colony where everyone is sick with the same sickness and kisses the chief leper when they enter, all of them are in that state. So you end up in a situation that they have to keep borrowing, and the debt instrument is an asset for somebody else who's receiving the income streams. And it's a liability for the government that's borrowed that money into existence and has to pay interest. And who's actually paying that interest? Well, the government doesn't have income. It gets taxation from you. You are the collateral. And those bankers view you as the collateral. And in any cull, I'm sure the land and a lot of other things will be made available very cheap, and BlackRock and Vanguard and other proxies for the legacy families will be buying off all your assets for pennies in the pound in the next collapse that could even have started now. The good news is that when you have a debt-based collapse, money, while it's still fluid and can move, runs into things that are preservational, and the primary monetized preservational asset is gold. And you are seeing that being manifested now. So everyone should be a gold stacker. Everyone should consider that they have no money. They have a promise of possible money when you have credits in a bank. The sooner you turn that promise of possible money into hard money that you physically hold, and possession is 9/10 of the law. That is why they want to bring a digital financial world over you, so that they can establish proxies in between you and the things you use that are physical. So eventually they can have a full rentier society where you own nothing and everything is on subscription, which will see a corporate fascist subscription model by all these megacorps like Google that are busy doing a $40 million campaign to promote Netanyahu's pro-Israeli message throughout the world in an environment where you have one tribe that is actively genociding in plain sight, right down to 2-3-year-old toddlers, to remove them so that they can steal and take the entire land from a people that have been there for 3,000, 5,000 years. And when you do blood DNA tests, are actually the descendants of Shem, while the Ashkenazi are not. That's where you're at. That's where you're at. And we're all looking the other way and letting it happen, because you've got governments and politicians that are not directing the agenda there, and media that is not directing the agenda there. So we're in a severe situation. I'm not going to tell anybody that. I don't know how many years. If I'm healthy enough to live to 95, I don't think I necessarily get there. Let's just put it that way. But that's okay. You know, we were born for these times, and we've got to operate, but you've got to take serious plans. You've got to build your wealth through investing in gold and silver, doing something preferably online that you can do in the matrix so that you can scale, whilst at the same time developing a second tier existence that's remote and offline. And that's what's coming, but it will take some time. So there's still some living we can do before everybody realizes they've become a second tier human being run by a supremacist human being master race that thinks they're a master race, that are the primeval psychopaths. And then you are just cattle to them. You're the ant farm. They can stand on as many as they like. They think it's overpopulated world now. It's quite clear that all these BBC Worlds and nature programs, while sucking you in for the nature, keep pushing out a message that there's too many humans on the planet, and they've always wanted to do a mass genocide. So they are inherently genocidal people, and they would want to seek to reduce the population. So be remote, where they actually might need the odd human somewhere.
Some forecasts predict silver prices could exceed previous records, with experts highlighting a unique buying opportunity due to historically low premiums on physical silver, despite the price surge. Gold's surge reflects growing concerns about the long-term stability of traditional reserve currencies, particularly the US dollar. Central banks are preparing by hoarding gold, while ordinary people remain exposed to systemic risks like bank failures, counterparty defaults, and the coming Great Taking. As the debt crisis deepens and central banks quietly position themselves for a reset, will you take the same steps to safeguard your wealth or wait until it's too late? Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. If you find this video informative, don't forget to support our channel and turn on notifications to stay informed about our latest videos. See you in the following video.